Hello everyone, welcome back to The Budget Sportsman. Thank you so much for joining me on today's video. Today we're going to be taking a look at these two different turkey vests from TideWe. We're going to walk you through the features, tell you about the pros and cons, and then try to determine if either one of these are right for you, and if so, which one is the one for you. So before we dive into the review, I did want to mention a really quick note about my relationship with TideWe. TideWe did send me both of these turkey vests for free to review on the channel and show all of you, but they're not paying me or telling me what to say. The only way that I make any profit out of this video is if you do use my coupon code, which is TBS18, that stands for the Budget Sportsman 18, I do receive a commission and you get an 18% discount. So I just want to be upfront about that relationship. Now, I do want to also quickly mention, some of you said, why do you review so many products from TideWe? Well, because I think they are worthy of presenting to all of you. I believe that most of the products I've received from TideWe have been a good quality to price ratio, and I've enjoyed using them myself, and TideWe wants to continue to work with me. And so any company that makes good quality products at a reasonable price and wants to work with me and wants me to make videos about those products, I'd be happy to work with them. Now, there are some cons to some of TideWe's products, and I always try to be upfront and honest about those. And you're going to see that even in today's video, there are going to be some cons that I'm going to present to you with these turkey vests. So with all that out of the way, let's dive into the review. All right, so about a year ago, TideWe sent me this vest right here. This is sort of the original TideWe turkey vest that I've seen a bunch of reviews on over the last number of years. And they sent this to me about a year ago, and I used it all of last turkey season, found it to be really comfortable. I even recorded a review about it, and then unfortunately I lost the footage for that video. And the one thing about this vest is it is about a $140 vest at the time of recording. Now with my coupon code, you can get it down to $115, but that's still a bit of a pricey turkey vest. And recently I was on TideWe's website and I found out that they came out with a new model. And this model here is missing really one big key feature of this vest, but instead of being $140, it's about $80, or with the coupon code down to about $65. Again, those are current prices. Prices do fluctuate from time to time, but as of the time of this video, those are the current prices. So I asked TideWe to send this to me so that we could do a side-by-side comparison, and they agreed. Now, one thing I want to point out here real quick while we're looking at them together is you can see that these are in two different camo patterns. This new version is in True Timber Strata, which is the camo pattern I've been using for the last year or so and really love the pattern. So that's awesome that it comes in that pattern, at least for me, because it matches the rest of my camo. This pattern that this vest is in, I don't think is available anymore. I think the two patterns that both of these are available are the True Timber Strata and then I think the True Timber HTC Green, which is much more of a springtime pattern. But again, you've got a pretty big price difference here, but mostly they're very, very similar vests with one big key feature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through this vest first, the one that I used all last turkey season, show you all the features, and then we'll just hop over to this one and just show you the differences without going through everything all over again. So one of the things you're going to notice about this vest is there are a good number of straps, and it's pretty adjustable. I mean, I can strap this up and I can get it nice and tight if I want it to really be snug on my body. There's a lot of straps here in the front. There's 3 straps. There's also straps on both sides with a bit of mesh sort of between the front and back panels. And so there's straps right here where you can pull that tight or loose as needed. For me, and my size, I got a lot of this cinched up pretty tight and it works out really well. Now, one thing I really appreciate about this turkey vest is that it has a lot of pockets. And I do not like a vest that just has one big pocket on each side on the front. I like a lot of pockets. So everything sort of has its place. And this vest fits that bill. So here in the front, you've got these big, nice zippered pulls you can use with gloves, very nice. And in this pocket here, you've got a sort of a long, skinny pocket. I keep a GoPro and a little selfie stick in there, and that's sort of my vlog camera as I'm filming my hunts for turkey season. Then over here, you are gonna have a box call pouch. I don't have a box call in there right now. That's a magnetic closure right there, which is really nice. Behind that, you're going to have another pocket here, which is a big zipper, pull all the way around. And when it comes all the way around, you can really open that up. And you can see that there are little shotgun shell elastics here. And the thing I really appreciate is, unlike another vest that I used to use, this one's actually sewed across the bottom, so the shells can't actually slide down and end up in the bottom. They're actually gonna stay there in those elastic spots. I also carry a little bag in here. This usually has spare camera batteries. And then behind that, you're gonna have one more zippered pocket right here. And this is pretty much the entire whole front of the vest that takes up this pocket. So you've got that. Now on the opposite side, you have that same big deep pocket in the back. And then you have another similar pocket here in the middle. Now I normally carry my AX53 camera in there, and I'm gonna mention more about that in just a moment. And then coming forward, You've got a spot here where you could put like your strikers. My striker's a little bit too long. I actually had to cut it down a little bit. I've got some toilet paper in there. I think I've got an alcohol in there. And then down here, of course, you've got your spot for your slate calls. So I've got a slate call in here. I can't remember now. I think, well, there's a Rice Krispie in there. I think a lot of times I would just throw my diaphragm calls in the other one. Then, of course, you also have a little bit of elastic here as well. I'm gonna set this camera down, and then I'm gonna show you inside the vest, you've got some more pockets as well. Now, I already mentioned putting the diaphragms out here just because they were easier access for me, but you do have these pouches right here. You've got 2 pouches with a snap closure. That would be perfect for your diaphragms. And then you also have one big zippered pocket here where I tend to throw like my face mask or my lightweight gloves in those pockets, and those are zippered as well. On the opposite side, you have almost exactly the same thing. Hopefully you can see this, but you've got 2 spots that would be perfect for diaphragm calls. And then instead of having one big pocket on this side, you've got 2 individual pockets. And I've got some toilet paper in there. All right, now one of the cons about these pockets is that they're all very, very thin and slim in profile, which works for your average stuff that you're gonna carry, your calls and so forth, a snack. It's going to be great. But one of the downsides is, as I mentioned with this camera, is this camera has a bit of bulk to it. And so none of these pockets have any depth really built into them. So when I try to take this and, oops, I got my zippers all backwards here, and I try to put it in here, it fits, but the vest sort of has to fold around it. There's no depth to that pocket to let the camera just sit down in there neatly. And this is going to be true for both of these vests. The pocket layouts are very similar, but this is probably one of my biggest complaints as a self-filmer, or sometimes have a buddy filming with me, but I'm carrying this camera, is there's just not a really great way to carry this camera in any of these pockets and really fit well and fit comfortably. It works, but it does tend to end up pushing that camera into my body a little bit, and it just makes this side feel more bulky. I had a vest previous to this that there's a lot of things about this vest I like better, but that vest actually had a pocket or 2 that had some depth built into it, and that camera would fall right down into those pockets and just sit a lot more comfortably. All right, so let's turn this around and look at the back side. You do have a carry handle right here, and up top here you have a Velcro pocket, which I guess would be good for something like a cell phone. I'm not sure why you'd want to carry your phone back there. Maybe your license or your tags would work back there. And then you have this really big and deep game bag, which I tend to use for things like a tripod or something for my cameras. I almost always carry my Montana decoy Miss Perfect. This is an awesome decoy. Well, I'll just show it to you real quick. I've showed this on the channel before, but it just pops up like this, super realistic and yet super lightweight and super packable. So I tend to carry that back here in my game bag as well. Now, something I wanted to point out to you, and this is the key feature of this turkey vest and what makes it more expensive than the other one, is that it has this frame with this kickstand, these kickstand feet on it. Now, I'm going to show you in a minute what it looks like when you sit down using that kickstand, but right now what I wanted to show you is that it actually limits the way this crossbar goes across right here. It actually limits the way that you're really able to utilize this pouch and really put all of the stuff in there. Like even just trying to pull that turkey decoy out was a bit difficult. And this is one of the real cons to me of this turkey vest, is the fact that these feet, while they're ingenious, they really kind of limit the amount of space that you have to use this big pouch, which I love to use. Now, I will mention this more in a moment, but you can actually take those feet out. Now, while we're here and looking at this, I do want to mention the seat. The seat is really big, thick, and nice. This is probably a good, I don't know, 3.5, 4 inches thick. It's very comfortable. And one of the ways that they have to hold this up in a run and gun situation, you want to jump up, you want to move to your next location, make a move on a bird. There's 2 magnets built into the seat cushion, and there's 2 magnets built into the back of the vest. And you can actually just flip that up and magnet it in place. Now, it's really, again, a really awesome feature. I enjoyed using it, but I found that if you put too much in this back shelf or this back compartment here, that it would tend to make it more difficult to get those magnets in place. The other thing that I found is that if I decided to go running through the woods, it was pretty common for that seat just to fall down and the magnets not be strong enough to hold it up. Now, I'm going to put this turkey vest back on and show you what it looks like to sit with this kickstand kicked back in place. All right, so these kickstand legs are extendable, and I've got them out as far as they will go, and I'm just gonna lean back into them the best I can here. All right, I'm leaning back into it. They're supporting my weight. And while it's a really ingenious idea, for me personally, I have not found them to be that effective. And here's the reason why. To me, it's leaning me too far back. Again, I've got the legs extended as far as they will go, which is leaning me up as much as I possibly can. But I still feel like I'm leaning too far back, and I'm kind of straining my neck to keep my head up and forward. And to bring my knee up and set my gun on it, it does work. It just feels awkward. It feels like I'm leaning too far back and I'm struggling to get myself up and lean that shoulder into my gun like I really want to just get everything lined up the way it needs to be. It just doesn't feel right in this position. To be perfectly honest with you, last year when I got this vest, I actually tried it one time with these legs, and ultimately I removed the legs. They are removable, and ultimately I removed them and just used this vest without the legs for the rest of the turkey season. All right, so before we move on to the second vest, I want to show you one more thing about this first one. You can see all of the padding on the inside of this vest. This is very thick, very cushioned, and almost full coverage back cushion support here. And I found, combined with this big, thick seat, this was incredibly comfortable to sit down on the ground and lean back up against a tree. Very, very comfortable, much more so than my previous budget turkey vest. And so I found this to be very, very comfortable. My big complaint about this turkey vest is that you're paying for the kickstand legs, and in my opinion, they just really fall short. Maybe if you're a different size or things just fit you a little bit differently, or you prefer to be more reclined, maybe they would work. A couple days ago, I was actually in a Bass Pro Shop, and they had a very similar vest, but the legs had longer legs and sat me upright. And to be honest with you, if I was in the market for a vest with leg support like that, I'm pretty sure that I would pass up on the TideWe and I would go check out Bass Pro Shop or Cabela's for their option. Now, overall, I think this is a higher quality vest, but I think that Bass Pro Shop got it right as far as the length of the legs and the positioning that you need to be to get that gun in the right spot. All right, so let's move on to vest number 2. Now, obviously, I had a good number of cons with vest number 1, but really a lot of them revolved around those legs. They limited the access to your big game bag in the back, and they just didn't sit right for me. And ultimately, I felt like you're paying a lot of money for something that, at least for me and my style and my comfort, really didn't provide much benefit. Well, that's where this vest comes in, because it's a lot cheaper and it does not include those legs. It's not set up for the legs. As far as I know, you can't add those legs. This vest just removes those legs altogether. Now, probably there are some other ways where they maybe lowered the price a little bit. For instance, these buckles on the front, while they seem the same, feel like they might be just a little bit cheaper of a buckle. I don't have any concerns about them, but they just feel maybe a little bit lighter duty. On the other hand, there are some things to this vest that I would consider to be an upgrade. For instance, there's an additional pocket on this side, which would be for your slate call strikers. I mentioned on the other one that it had this pocket here, but this actually adds an additional pocket dedicated for 2 different strikers right here. Another change is that there's this elastic pocket here rather than on the original vest. There was a couple of essentially molly loops, like little webbing straps. Everything else is pretty much the same as far as pockets. On this side, everything's pretty much the same, except that instead of having a magnetic closure for your back box call, this one actually has a little strap right here with a toggle, which is going to give you probably a more secure purchase there, or a more secure closure on that box call, which I think all of those features could be considered upgrades as well. Now, inside the vest, it is almost exactly, I think it is exactly the same pocket layout inside the vest. So let's turn it around now and look at the back of the vest. Now, when it comes to the back of the vest, you are still going to get that same really large and deep game bag. However, now you're going to have full and complete access to it without any of that metal framework. Again, you can get that access on the other one by taking the metal frame off, but you're paying for that metal frame. Now, one of the things I think is really neat here is that instead of having that small pocket that I said could be used for a phone, they've removed that, and instead now they've given you this really big, deep pocket. It's separate from the game pouch, that's right here, and you get this really nice, big, deep pocket right here with a zipper closure. Just another way that you can have organization, maybe a great place for that little Montana decoy, things like that. Now, I should have mentioned both of these do have a little pass-through here and a spot where you can put a water bladder down in your in your game bag area. And this particular one, there's actually a separate, if you unclip your game bag, there's actually a separate zipper right here, and that provides a pouch where I guess you could put your water bladder right in there and then run up through right here with your hose and bring it over the front. Now, as far as comfort goes, you have that same thick seat cushion, really, really nice. And inside, you do have a good amount of cushion, although I don't think it's quite as full coverage as on the first vest. And this is probably a bit subjective, but this foam feels a little bit softer to me, like you're probably gonna bottom out the foam a little bit easier than the other foam was really nice, thick foam, and you never really felt like you were sinking all the way through to the tree. But again, this one doesn't have quite the rigidity, but it still has a little bit of rigidity to the back support here, and still a really, really nice amount of foam in here. Now, one other thing that I wanted to point out, you remember on the first vest, I mentioned that there was 2 magnets in the seat and 2 in the vest, and you could magnet that seat up. Well, on this vest, they've made the decision to go down to 1 magnet. I'm really not sure why, because if anything, I feel like they needed more magnets. Now, overall, I mean, it's hard to know if you're balancing the same. I feel like it holds about the same. Overall, I really like the magnet idea that you can just flip it up and flip it into place. But if you're moving quickly, you are probably going to have a hard time getting it to stay in place. Now, there are other straps on both of these where you can pull them up tight and not rely solely on the magnets. But I really wish those magnets would work a little bit better, because it is really nice and convenient just to flip it up, magnet in place, and go on your way. So what are my final thoughts on the TideWe turkey vest? Well, I think you probably can already guess what I'm going to tell you about the first vest that we looked at. I think if you're in the market for a vest, especially if you're on a budget, you probably want to pass up that first vest. At over $100, it probably is a pretty good value for a vest that offers a kickstand like that. However, I think you're just carrying a lot of extra weight and not really gaining a ton of good functionality. At least that's how I view it from my hunting style. I make a lot of moves in a day, I cover a lot of ground, and it's a lot of extra weight to carry that doesn't really offer me many benefits and has a lot of drawbacks. Now, on the other hand, this vest, I think, actually offers a good value to price ratio. I think it's a good budget offering. If you can get it in that $65 range, $70 range with my coupon code, then I think this is a reasonable price. Recently, about 2 years ago, I bought one from Walmart, and it was $50. And I think this vest is of higher quality and has more comfort, a lot more padding in the back than that Walmart vest does. So you're spending a little bit more, but I do think you are getting a little bit more as well. If I was to have some complaints, TideWe, if you're listening, I think there's room for improvement. And I think the biggest thing for me on this vest that could be improved is that magnet system. If they could strengthen those magnets, add some more magnets, somehow refine that to where you could flip it up and it would really latch into place, that would just take this vest to the next level, because I love the idea. It does fall a little bit flat. Now, another con to this vest to me is that it doesn't have much depth to any of these pockets. And I already mentioned that with carrying my camera. For a lot of you, that may not even matter, but for me, it does affect my comfort, not in sitting down, but in just kind of carrying my gear, just not having any depth to any of those pockets. And if I was to have a final con of this vest, it's that there's no way to carry a water bottle. Now, both of these vests are set up to have a water bladder with a hose coming out, but there's not any way, or not any good way at least, to really carry a water bottle, which is sort of my preferred way of drinking when I'm turkey hunting. All in all, I think this vest does offer a good quality to price ratio, and I think it is worth your consideration if you're in the market for a reasonably priced turkey vest. So if you are thinking about picking up one of these vests, I will leave links down in the description, and don't forget to use coupon code TBS18 if you want to save yourself some cash. Let me know what you think of this video and these turkey vests down in the comments, and until next time, remember to get off YouTube and get outdoors into God's great creation.